that you needed. Oh, I was the one when you needed love. I was the one when you needed love. Only the things that you wanted. Love. I was the hell that you needed. Oh, I was the one when you needed love. I was the one when you needed love. Only the things that you wanted. Love. I was the hell that you needed. Oh, I was the one when you needed love. I was the one when you needed love.
Welcome to the first BaldPolitiKs of 2017, where we take an alternative look at the world of politics and give a voice to the unheard. I'm Peter Carney, and this is the 18th of January 2017, where the world focuses back on West County Tyrone in the north of Ireland, in the Greencastle Gurchin area. I'm speaking with Cormac of the organisation Save Our Sperrins, who opposed the Dalridian gold mine for the area, and we'll find out exactly why in just a moment. This controversy was of course featured on BaldPolitiKs last November when I visited the area and I spoke to some concerned local families about the proposed gold mine. But before we get that, let's have a look at some of the significant happenings and births on this day, the 18th of January. Significant happenings: in 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. It's the first such uprising of the Jews living there against the Nazi German occupiers. In 1976, the Lebanese Christian militia kill at least 1,000 people in Karantina in Beirut, Lebanon. And in 1978, the European Court of Human Rights finds the British government guilty of mistreating prisoners in Ireland. Significant births on this day: in 1931, we have Doo-hwan, who is a South Korean general and the 5th president of the South Korea. 1933, we have David Bellamy, an English botanist, author and academic, since sidelined because of his opinions on global warming. However, diverse opinions are always welcome. And in 1937, we have our own John Hume, the Irish civil rights activist, politician and Nobel Prize laureate. So now let's go to this fortnight's topic, where I spoke with Cormac of Save Our Sperrins in the Gurchin Greencastle area of West Tyrone in the north of Ireland. This proposed mine in the Greencastle Gurchin area of West Tyrone, where is it at the moment? Do they have permission to mine yet, or what's happening?
No, you will know that they received planning permission for an exploratory mine in 2013, and that was for 3 years, and that is now coming to an end. So that was for permission to do a 2-kilometre tunnel into the hill and extract 20,000 cubic metres of rock and ore and export to Canada for processing.
Okay.
So that's coming to an end now, and they are about to submit a planning application at this stage.
They're about to submit a planning application. That application hasn't gone in yet, has it?
That hasn't gone in, and interestingly enough, they had told us the economic appraisal and the feasibility study would be ready at the time of their public consultation with the community before Christmas. Now that documentation wasn't ready, and it's still not made available to the public.
Right.
And we're wondering why that. We feel there's some reason why that's happening.
Okay, so they're keeping things quite secret at the moment.
That certainly is my belief and the belief of SOS, that for some reason or other, and there may be some reason for it, maybe the documentation isn't proving some of the projections that they had anticipated, or maybe there's some other questions been raised.
Okay. We have to wait and see. Any idea when that might be published?
Well, we understand that it would be before the end of the month, but again, we're waiting on seeing.
So the end of the month is fast approaching. So just tell us a little bit about your main concerns with Dalridian, because most people might think a gold mine coming to the area, the expression is you're quite literally sitting on a gold mine. So what exactly are your concerns about a gold mine coming to the Greencastle Gurchin area of West Tyrone?
Well, and you're right, a lot of people would be thrilled, and many people around here were thrilled to hear that there was a possibility of a gold mine in the area. Some of us who would have heard about gold mining and gold mines in other parts of the world and some of the issues with them wouldn't have shared that, that excitement. But that being as it may, the issues of the lack of transparency that have emerged with Dalridian have exacerbated those concerns. And my concerns are around, and our concerns are around the dangers to the water. We're sitting up here in the mountains of the the headwaters of two precious rivers. One is the Foyle and the other is the Ballinderry. And there's a danger that the pollution from the mining, because it is very toxic, would damage both that river and the Ballinderry, which flows towards Lough Neagh. And they're both precious rivers, not only for water extraction, but for fishing and for the, for providing for the overall area. So there's also the fears among ourselves about the use of cyanide. There's also the fears about acid water, which is associated with gold mining. When the rock is crushed and brought out into the air and mixed with dampness, that produces sulfuric acid. And traces of sulfuric acid in the water has already been discovered a couple of years ago up on Cormac, which is up on the Ruski side, and this was ignored somewhat strangely by the department on the grounds that this is it's naturally occurring, they said, which is a terrible decision and an indictment on their lack of knowledge about the dangers of sulfuric acid.
Okay, right. And do you think, are there not any experts that would put an opinion forward to say that sulfuric acid in the area is not a good thing? Have any expert opinions spoken up on that?
Well, there hasn't been much yet, but again, it's because of the fact that Dalradian they only have an exploratory mine, and exploratory work officially that's regarded as very unintrusive, and they tell us that there will be a real examination done whenever the planning application is submitted.
Okay.
But we don't share much confidence in that.
Right, okay, because at that stage it could have gone so further down the road, it would be more difficult to stop it.
Well, we have been surprised at the fact that the authorities, particularly the Strategic Planning Division, I should say that because gold mining, and this gold mine has been identified as of regional significance, it's not the local planners who are going to be dealing with it, but rather Strategic Planning Division in Belfast. And they throughout this period, when we have been asking more information over the last 3 years and raising some concerns, they have seemed very much on the side of the company and very deaf to any concerns, marginalising them and explaining them away rather than appearing to show sympathy that these are real issues that should be taken seriously. So we don't really have, there's red flags gone up there, and we are looking with some fear and trepidation to what the announcement is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, what sort of communication have you had from the company Dalradian themselves? Have they been forthcoming with you guys as a group?
With some of our people, we've all gone down to the recent consultation at their main site at Cormac, but some of us, and many of us, were disappointed, to put it very mildly, at the fact that they weren't providing the information or making it available. They were asking people, and they were asking us for our opinions, in the absence of them saying what they were going to be doing in detail, or indeed releasing the documentation that I referred to earlier, the economic appraisal or their environmental impact assessment. So it's impossible for local people to give an informed view unless you've got the documents that their experts and the consultants that they've brought in have been prepared. So it's almost like, tell us what your concerns are in the dark, and then they will respond to these without us and without the local community having seen what exactly, because the detail is very important here. We know there are the big issues and we can identify them, but they have known what exactly Dalradian are proposing is really important, and what their experts are saying are the issues.
Right, okay. Now, in terms of the cyanide claims, they've claimed themselves in a BBC article that after the processing is done, that there will only be a trace of cyanide remaining, that you would actually find more in a handful of chewed almonds. What do you think of that?
What do they think people are? We up in the mountains here have been used with the establishment over the years, treating us with less respect than people deserve here. But to think that in this day and age that people will be taken in by Mr. Anderson, the chief executive's claims that cyanide is no more dangerous than almonds. That's how ridiculous can you get? And we'd suggest him that we're happy to meet him anytime, and we take the almonds, we'll eat them, and he can take the cyanide. Because even one of his experts, who was an expert over from Canada, during, somebody who visited the mine had asked, will you drink, she was claiming that their processing plant was going to leave the water even more pure than when it came downstream. And he said, well, would you drink this? And she said not. And in fact, a local MLA, member of the Legislative Assembly, Ross Hussey, will say to you and would tell you today that the fact that they refused to, that the expert, even though she said it was safe, said she wouldn't drink it if she lived beside it, that he said that influenced very much his decision to be very anti the whole idea of the mining and the processing.
Okay. Now, speaking of MLAs, before the last Assembly elections last year, a number of MLAs signed a pledge saying that they would oppose a toxic mine in the area. Of those, 4 of them were elected. You mentioned Ross Hussey, Barry McElduff, Declan McAleer and Michaela Boyle of Sinn Féin were all elected. Since they signed that pledge and since being elected, now we have another election coming up. How have they been? How have they kept to that pledge since signing it?
Well, in fact, I have a copy of the pledge here that was written, and we were very pleased that a number of several of the candidates in that election agreed to sign it because it was very significant. A pledge or a covenant is quite a strong commitment to supporting our aims and objectives, and we were very pleased that the candidates agreed that way. You asked me, what has happened since then? Sadly, very little. We have, and apart from that Ross Hussey, who continues to support the campaign against the gold mining and support Dalradian's plans, that the other candidates and the other MLAs have been very reticent to come forward with any expressions of support for our campaign. They have drawn attention to the fact, and strongly so, and it's a good thing that the Minister for the Department for Infrastructure, Sinn Féin MLA, did say that he was minded to have an inquiry, a public inquiry, when the application was being processed. Now that the Assembly has gone, we're not sure that's gone too. But we welcome that fact. But we would also query, why do candidates not come out and back a campaign against such a toxic industry that is going to lay waste the heart of Mid-Tyrone and will damage, has a really big risk, and any expert would tell you this, has a really big risk to the whole of this area of the Sperrins, which is an area of outstanding natural beauty, and which is a major risk to the whole foil system, with its fishing, with its tourism potential, with its people. And indeed with the Ballandary system. So we wonder, why are our candidates and why are our representatives so reticent about supporting our campaign?
Right. And is that not somewhat surprising, given the politics of the area? People would know West Tyrone would be considered to be a Republican area, yet it's somebody from the Ulster Unionist Party who seems to be most vocal against the mine.
This is startling. It's amazing. It's shocking. That our MP, Pat Doherty, a Sinn Féin MP, who has given support to Dalradian and has appeared along with Patrick Anderson, Chief Executive. It's startling to think that he does not support this campaign, or certainly hasn't said that he supports our campaign. So you're right. It's a really contradictory scenario, and it is evidence of the fact that in recent months that the people around here have felt that they were marginalised and isolated from their political representatives.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like almost abandoned politically in terms of that.
Yeah, okay. Now, while the Assembly is not functioning at the moment, prior to it coming down, Chris Hazard did call for a public inquiry. Is that something that you would support?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, we would very much. We look forward to, we'd look forward to that. There's no guarantee, obviously, in public inquiries, and a lot depends on the nature of the inquiry. And the fact that Dalradian were supportive of the proposal as well. means that it's something that we will really not need to look at very closely going forward and participate in very fully. But yeah, we welcome that. And now that doesn't take away from the fact that we think that our Sinn Féin representatives should be supporting our campaign.
Now, as you mentioned, the area is listed as an AONB, an area of natural beauty. That's not just a title, that is actually protected by certain legislation, countryside acts, and so forth. Can any of that legislation be enacted against the mine?
Well, some of that should be able to be used, but the interpretation increasingly of AONB, area of outstanding natural beauty, seems to have less and less currency with the powers that be, and we're not sure why that is. Like, for example, we were shocked that the initial mining, the exploratory mining project of Dalradian, 2 kilometres of mine, a 2 kilometre tunnel that is about 4 metres by 4 metres and, high and broad. That's a huge extraction and huge interference with the ground and the land. But that tunnel, right beside a special area of conservation, which is one of the most highly protected areas in Europe environmentally, that was allowed without even an environmental impact assessment. Like, that's scandalous. And the fact that was allowed by our own local assembly and by the Strategic Planning Division makes us wonder about how important that. I should add that that river, the protected stretch of river, has freshwater pearl mussels, has got salmon spawning, and all these have an economic value as well as a natural, an important environmental value. And further downstream, there's extraction from that river for the public water system down at Newton Stewart. Indeed, this river flows down into the Foyle, so that means it's a cross-border system that should be protected by the Rivers Agency. But for whatever reason, it wasn't. There was no big issue made, and we wonder: has this company got some influence over people? And indeed, given where the Assembly is at the moment and the fact of these recent incidents around corruption, we wonder, does that need exploring as well right now on this issue?
Okay, and your local council, the Fermanagh Omagh District Council, have they been involved in this at all?
We had a very useful meeting, informative meeting last week on Tuesday evening with the council, and they were very keen to hear about what our issues were. Indeed, they were very keen to hear about the mining and the issues to do with acid water and acid rain and the use of cyanide, because they appreciate the information gap that there is there in terms of them, and they're very concerned as well about the authorities being dependent on Dalradian for some of the more detailed information rather than having their own independent information sources. So the council is being, as the council now is being quite helpful and interested. But because of the fact that this is strategic, seen as a strategic project, then the council sees itself as having less influence or power. But they still have a voice, and they are the voice of the local people. And we see that they have a responsibility for developing a tourism plan and a development plan for this area. And this area, which is anybody that comes to this area will acknowledge the wild rustic beauty of this undeveloped part of Tyrone, which has got such a wealth of archaeology, has got a wealth of culture, because even such things as there's a green road where there's historical records about the fact that the Hugh O'Neill, when he was on the way from Tullyhog to the Flight of the Earls from Rathmullen and Donegal, he passed by this way, and that road, the remnants of that road is still here. And that's exactly where the mine is going to be sited. So there's also, this area is an area, it's the Tyrone Gaeltacht. So the people see the Changadukish, the Irish language, was so strong here until, even in the 1950s, 60s and 70s, there were still very much people that spoke Irish, and it's very strong even today, the Irish language. So there's as a tourism resource, as a people resource, as a recognition to the rights of Indigenous people here, and people see themselves as just like the people, the Indigenous people in the United States, and even in, that we have rights here too. And people are learning from other areas. They're looking, because the internet now, people can source information on mining and gold mining in other areas, and that see where in the United States and North America and Canada and Latin America, there's so many, and in Europe, and Australia as well. There's so many examples of disasters, and where the gold mining, has threatened and destroyed local peoples. There's in Peru, for example, they were very familiar with the Yanacucha mine, and in Cajamarca, where the environment and the water is being destroyed right there, right now. And a local farmer, you'll see on the internet, Maxima Acuna, her livelihood and her life is being threatened by gold mining.
Okay.
So it's the same.
Okay, Cormac, and just to finish up, what are you looking for? Are you looking for the mine to be stopped? Are you looking for it to be moved? Or are you looking for it to be made safe?
We're very much looking for it to be stopped, right? We think that mining, gold mining, is totally inappropriate for this area. The learning from international experience is that it is so risky using, the risk from acid water in this area, because of our climate, because of our location, because the nature of the industry is totally inappropriate. It would wipe out at a fell swoop the tourism potential of this area, and even fishing. Like, several years ago, the tourist board in across the border valued one salmon at €1,000 each. Right now, this year is talking about the danger of wiping out the entire foil system, and the danger to our water, not only to the water for tourism, but also for the drinking water. This is a toxic time bomb waiting to happen, and we're wanting to put pressure on our politicians to make sure that we have a voice, and if we don't, then to try and come to an agreed candidate who will represent the people of this area.
Okay.
So thank you very much to Cormac McAleer for his time. If you want to know more, simply go to Facebook and check out and like Save Our Sperrins, as well as Greencastle Community Voices, and it'll give you all the information you need to know from a community point of view right there about the proposed Dalridian gold mine in that area. Thank you again for tuning into BaldPolitiks, the first one of 2017. If you want to contact me or give me some feedback, then feel free to contact me at the details to follow. So that's pretty much it from us. Until a fortnight's time, from me, Peter Carney, take care.
You needed, I was the one when you needed love. I was the one when you needed love.